What's going on, everyone? So, I think Gabe Vincent's time with the Lakers is likely coming to an end. You have Marcus Smart now, right? I mean, they're still figuring out that situation, at least at the time of recording this video. Depending on when you're watching it, maybe it's already happened and we got it resolved, whether they're waiving Goodwin and Shake Milton, or they pulled off a trade, whatever, right? But, regardless, I think Gabe Vincent is likely going to get traded at this point. I think you almost have to. I continue to maintain patience and don't just make a trade just to make a trade. Like, I don't want you to just get off of Gabe Vincent just to get off of Gabe Vincent and you give up assets and stuff to do so, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. But I do think that if you're the Lakers, you're now shopping Gabe Vincent and seeing what you can get, even if it's just assets back, like, 2 seconds or something like that from a team that's like, hey, we could use a veteran guard that, had its moments with the Lakers coming off of injury. And, before that was, a huge component in Miami on a championship run, right? If you can get some assets that maybe now can leverage you, maybe clear some salary, and then also get you, assets for another trade, then fine. Something like that, I'm not against. Something like that, I'd be all for. But to just like salary dump Gabe Vincent and give up assets in the same thing, like, that is not something that I want. But I just think with Marcus Smart, yes, technically you could go Gabe Vincent and Marcus Smart, have them as kind of like your two guards off the bench, and kind of have Marcus Smart as that, sort of point of attack 2 guard, 6'3" with the 6'9" wingspan, can defend 1 through 3, have Gabe Vincent, his ability, especially if he can kind of regain that spark that we saw in moments during the regular season, right? More so towards the back half. Have those two guys kind of be the backcourt off the bench for you. Sure, I just think that that's small, right? And Marcus Smart isn't known as like this great shooter, right? Gabe Vincent isn't really known as this great shooter. Gabe Vincent had his moments and his stretches, but most guys do, right? Most guys can have moments and stretches. I just think they're too much of a redundancy. And then also you have Bronny James, who offense I think needs to come around, but I do think Bronny, at least as far as your point of attack and defense goes, I think he can fill that role for you, right? Especially now that you have Marcus Smart. So now you could justify, like, okay, Marcus Smart is kind of playing at the 1 and the 2 for you, maybe on occasion playing the 3, but I really want him slotted at the 1 or the 2. And then you have Bronny James, who could do the same, and also have a guy in a Marcus Smart that can also be a mentor, kind of help and grow. I think Bronny's going to benefit tremendously from having Marcus Smart, and that toughness and just the type of player that he is what you want Bronny James to be. I mean, you're talking about a guy that was all NBA defense, right? Has 1 defensive player of the year, right? If he can kind of help guide and improve Bronny in his play, right? Especially with what we saw in Summer League, if that to any degree can kind of translate into the actual NBA, right, then I think the Lakers would be in great shape in that regard, right? Now, the thing is like, okay, come playoff time, how much is Bronny going to actually play? But how much are you playing Gabe Vincent and Marcus Smart come playoff time? You're probably playing, like, Jake LaRavia is going to play a role. You're probably going to play a backup center at times, right? And then Marcus Smart, Lakers get another guy or whatever, boom, then there's that guy, right? So, again, like, yes, over the course of a regular season, maybe Gabe Vincent makes some sense. But once you get to the playoffs and stuff, I just think, like, how much are you going to be able to play him and Marcus Smart? Because you're also probably playing, unless you end up trading Austin Reeves or something like that, right? You're probably going to end up playing, Luka 35 to 40 minutes a night in the playoffs. Same thing with Austin Reeves, right? You're probably leaning into them very heavily. Maybe certain matchups, certain games, no. But for the most part, you're leaning into your stars. You're leaning into the guys as heavy as possible, right? And so, I just think Marcus Smart is kind of being that versatile, like, you're always going to have, again, unless the Lakers end up trading one of the guys, right? You're always going to have a Luka, LeBron, or Austin Reeves on the court, or at least you should, right? Because there are 3 primary ball handlers, 3 primary playmakers. So you're always going to have at least one of them on the court, probably 2 at all times. So again, that, like, Marcus Smart's ability to slot into either guard spot, he's going to be playing a lot. It's going to be a lot of Luka and Smart, a lot of Reeves and Smart, right? So like, where does Gabe kind of fit into that mix? Where does Gabe kind of slot in, right? Because again, like, are you going to go small and have like Gabe Vincent and a Marcus Smart with like a Reeves at the 3? Like, I don't know how I feel about that, right? Like, I'd rather see the Lakers use Gabe Vincent in his expiring salary, his expiring contract, right, which is like $11.5 million. That, I mean, you could swap him for Matisse Thybulle. Right? I'd rather you do something like that. If you have to give up a pick swap or something like that in the process, or a second round pick, then fine, so be it. Now you're adding another, 6'5" with a 7-foot wingspan, versatile defensive guy that can defend 1 through 3, even some 4s on occasion, right? Like, that's the kind of moves that I'd like to see the Lakers make with a guy like a Marcus Smart, or with a Gabe Vincent. Sorry, correction. Because I just think, again, yes, you could keep Gabe, but for what? Right? Like, again, I don't want to see the Lakers just trade him. It's not one of those things where I think you're desperate to get off of him. Right? I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we got to make sure we trade Gabe Vincent. Like, no, I don't think it's anything like that. If I'm talking about if the right trade presents itself and that deal is there where it's like, okay, this is the move. Or you're using him as salary filler, or there's a purpose, right? Like, so say, again, the Andrew Wiggins trade, just using that as an example, right? They wanted Rui and Dalton Connect, but you'd have to add in another guy. Well, Miami would probably want Gabe Vincent, right? So it's like, okay, now that makes sense. You're bringing in Andrew Wiggins, you're clearing off a bunch of salary, you're opening up 2 roster spots. So now, yes, technically, you could look at Gabe as like a salary dump move, but it's to yield back a player that gives you an upgrade and a potential starter at the 3, on top of you're freeing up the salary space and opening up roster spots. So you're kind of killing multiple birds with one stone, so to speak, right? And that, to me, I think is something that now that becomes justifiable. Now you can make that argument of like, okay, this was a good move to get off of Gabe Vincent. I just think Marcus Smart, like, the other thing that I'm sure I think people would probably make the argument for of keeping Gabe Vincent is Marcus Smart's health. It's kind of the one thing, right? Marcus Smart hasn't played more than 34 games the last 2 seasons, right? Like, but again, like, there was that fluke season with Memphis where just everyone was falling apart. And then, the illness, he had like that illness or whatever. Like, there was circumstances. Like, was that the new norm going forward? Or was that just, this sequence of events? Like, I don't know. We won't know. Right? But I also maintain, and I've talked about this over the years, right? I don't think you should make moves solely based on a guy being hurt or not. Right? Marcus Smart might only play 20 games. He might play 80. I don't know. And yes, again, like, you can look at kind of the last few seasons and point to like, okay, well, the last few seasons signals and highlights. But you see guys all the time that, like, Chris Paul played all 82 games and started them all last year. Right? Like, you look at Chris Paul going into that, you're like, dude, this guy, again, injury prone. Right? But he was able to just fit in, right roll, right up. Like, things happen, right? I don't think you make decisions solely on, like, if you're keeping Gabe Vincent solely because you're concerned Marcus Smart might get hurt, I just don't think that's the right approach. And I'd rather you go and look to bring in somebody like a DeAnthony Melton or something, or even a Josh Okogie or something, where at least he can play other positions that Gabe can't. Right? He can slot in areas that Gabe can't. So then, yes, you're moving off of Gabe, but you're bringing in a Joshua Okogie. But again, a 6'4", 6'5" guy with a 7-foot wingspan, very comparable to a Matisse Thybulle. Shot 38% from 3-point range with the Phoenix Suns. Didn't shoot great with Charlotte, but with Phoenix, right? You're going to have Luka and LeBron. Can he kind of get back up, kind of give you that guard version of, a Jared Vanderbilt out there? And it's like, okay, now you start creating that defensive identity. You have Marcus Smart as kind of the foundation, right? He is the guy that is anchoring that defense, slotted alongside a Joshua Okogie and a Jared Vanderbilt as kind of those 3 guys. I mean, you could play those 3 alongside an Ayton and Luka, right? Literally, you could have an Ayton and Luka out there and just have like, Marcus Smart at the 2, Joshua Okogie at the 3, Jared Vanderbilt at the 4, kind of push the pace a little bit, have some defense. Yeah, I'm not saying that that should be your starting unit or anything, right? Obviously, you got LeBron. I don't think that they're going to bring Reeves off the bench, but I'm saying like you can run units like that where it's like, hey, we have this defense. Like, let's take a look, right? Or a Dude Thero, right? Throw him out there. Like, here's these kind of 3 versatile defenders out on the perimeter. If DeAndre Ayton really buys in defensively like he says he wants to, and then on top of that, you add in, Luka, conditioned, healthy. Can he kind of, I don't expect him to be great or elite or anything like that defensively, but can he be at least serviceable? Like, not just getting blown by every possession. All of a sudden, Lakers could run a interesting kind of balanced unit, right? So again, I think it's just getting creative, finding the right moves, finding the right pieces, finding the right players, kind of exploring various avenues and seeing which one is the best one to go down. But as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.